All right, FightHype.com. Sean Zattel here with former world champion Chris Algieri of ProBox TV and also Inside Boxing Live. Is that right?
That's right.
That's right. Okay.
That's right.
So, Chris, Canelo Charlo. Charlo's a significant underdog. What do you think of this fight?
When this fight was first announced, I was a bit bummed. I wanted Jermell. I wanted the bigger Charlo. I thought it made more sense. But once I started looking stylistically at the fight and breaking things down, I got a little more excited. I've been getting more and more excited as the fight's gotten closer. I do think it's going to be competitive, at least early on. I mean, Jermell does a lot of things that can give Canelo trouble. He's got a great jab. Guys with good lead hands. Think Triple G, think Bivol, think Floyd have given Canelo trouble in the past. I think Charlo has respectable power. He's got really good power at 54. I think he'll even have respectable power at 60 and 68. The issue there is that Canelo's chin is so good. He literally has one of the best chins in the sport. So I don't think he's going to be able to hurt Canelo, but really he doesn't have to. If he gets enough respect and then uses his very strong boxing IQ and boxing ability, he can make it very competitive and win a lot of early rounds. And Canelo's a bit of a slow starter anyway. Neither one of the guys are very busy. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for Jermell to steal rounds early on. But listen, we got weight classes for a reason, man. 168, jumping up 2 weight classes, even for someone as good as Jermell is, that's a lot to ask. Coming up into his biggest fight, his biggest event, and fighting Canelo. I know a lot of people are talking about Canelo being on the back end of his best, which he probably is, but still, he's on the back end of his best, which he's a phenomenal fighter. So even Canelo at 85-90% is still a hell of a fighter to deal with. And with the 2 weight classes, separating the two, and then even breaking it down even further, both guys, like I said, I'm next to Dan Canobio, Mr. CompuBox, my partner at Inside Boxing Live.
How's it going, everybody?
He's the numbers guy, and he's got the numbers for both these guys, and they're not that busy. Dan, what are they, 40 punches around, both guys?
Both guys throw 40 punches around. Both guys land their power in the 40% range, and both guys knock guys out late.
Right, so very precise guys, don't waste a lot of punches. And in those kind of situations where, again, they knock guys out late, I don't see Jermell knocking Canelo out. So how does he win the fight? Canelo has very eye-catching, explosive combinations. He's very good at stealing rounds or winning rounds in that fashion. So it's a really tough route for me to see how Jermell wins this fight based on what he's done in the past. I think he's got to do things that we haven't really seen him do before. He's got to be very disciplined each and every round. He's got to be a boxer. He's got to not overcommit.
Right, because he's a boxer puncher.
Yeah, he's a boxer puncher.
Right.
And in recent years, he's become much more of a knockout guy.
Right.
And a lot of that, and I talk about this all the time, knockout punchers are not just born. It's not just genetics. It's just not just about power. It's mentality as well. And Jermell changed his mentality. He could always punch. But in recent years, and credit Derek James or not, he does, he's changed his mentality in terms of when he hurts you, he looks to finish you. He unloads combinations once he's got you hurt. He boxes very smart. He's very, very sharp. Good counter puncher. He's got one of the best 1-1-2s in the game. The jab cross that he throws with a little bit of stutter step is so smooth. But he follows up now, and he gets hit more. He goes for broke to get guys out of there, which I appreciate as a fan. But against Canelo, that's not the goal.
Right.
That's not the move. I think he needs to be very cautious. He needs to be a smart boxer. He's got to be like Bivol. Bivol never overcommitted in the fight and won hands down. So I think that's going to be a big narrative of this fight, is whether Jermell can kind of fight off the bloodlust that he normally has when he's got a guy or hits a guy or hits a guy with a clean shot. Canelo's dangerous, man. He's a very dangerous guy with a good chin and great counter puncher. So yeah, this fight's all about Charlo being disciplined. Otherwise, I got Canelo dominating late and doing what he does.
Well, you mentioned he's got to have more of a boxer temperament instead of trying to exchange with this guy, right? Mm-hmm. And we're so used to the boisterous Charlo, Mr. Keep Running Your Mouth. I'm gonna knock your ass out, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That guy hasn't been here so far.
Good sign.
It's actually good. It's not, he's not showing too much respect. It's a good sign.
I think if he parlays that into being the boxer and understanding he needs to win rounds, then yes, it's a good thing. if he is mailing it in and being like, it's my biggest payday and I haven't fought in a while and it's Canelo, I'm going up 2 weight classes, what do I have to lose? Then obviously it's a bad thing.
Do fighters ever really think like that?
Yes, it happens. We've seen it. I don't necessarily see that in him and his personality. I still think it's going to be a competitive fight. I think the things that Jermell does well, his jab, his stutter in and out, his athleticism, his speed. I don't think Canelo's fought a guy as fast as Jermell in years. He likes fighting bigger, slower guys. And Jermell has good hand speed. He's got good foot speed.
What about Plant?
Yeah, well see,
2 years ago.
He had trouble with Plant.
Right.
He had trouble with Plant early on. I see a very similar fight. That is going to be very competitive early on. And then it's the Canelo pressure and power. The 2 P's of Canelo, pressure and power. He wears you down. He puts a lot of physical pressure on you, makes the ring very, very small. His defense is so good, you're not really landing. You're not landing clean. And the difference here is I see as in terms of Jermell and Plant. I think Jermell's got more respectable power, but the size. Plant's a real 68-pounder. Jermell's not. Everyone's talking about the size because Jermell's tall. He's got wide shoulders. His waist is this big. He's not the same size as Canelo. Canelo's thick all over. Guy's got thick wrists, thick neck, thick hips, thick midsection. He's cutting weight this week. You can see it in his interviews. His face is being drawn in. He seems a little dry in his mouth at times. He looks super lean. You see him, post some photos and videos of him wearing the sauna suit, getting the weight down. He's cutting weight to be 68. Jermell's not cutting weight.
If Canelo wins this fight, and I believe that's your pick, or is it?
Yeah, I got Canelo.
Okay. Would you rather see him fight Crawford or Benavidez?
Benavidez. Certainly Benavidez. Crawford is cool. It's a great fight.
Tune in.
It's cool. Oh no, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's an amazing fight, and I wouldn't say it's a complete walkover or wash in any way. I think there are things that Crawford does because he's so dynamic and so special that he could make it a real fight. But I'd much rather see Benavidez. I think Benavidez is awesome. And that being said, I still see a path of victory for Canelo. So I still see it being a very good fight. Before the Caleb Plant fight, I was all David Benavidez. I'm like, he beats Canelo. He does all the things that gets in trouble. But then I saw some things in the Caleb Plant fight. I was like, Canelo can still take advantage of this. If he's still closer to his prime than not, I can see him winning this fight. But the more time that passes, the more dangerous Benavidez is going to get. He's got a really big fight coming up with Boo Boo.
Andre.
Boo Boo is special. He's a really difficult guy to look good against. No one's ever been able to beat him, obviously. He's undefeated. He's a 2-division undefeated world champion. There's not many of those. So, and he's got a very difficult style to deal with. Benavidez looks good in that fight. Man, as high as I am on Benavidez, I am that much higher because Boo Boo's my guy, and I think he's a really difficult guy to beat.
Right. Legs not as fluid as they were at 60 and 54 for Andre, right? But
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, he's the king of dropping guys early and then dominating down the stretch.
Right.
He's not a closer. He's He's more of a safety first guy. But
does he coast a little bit after he hurts those guys?
I think he's very smart. I know Boo Boo very well. He's very aware of the damage that this sport brings, and he's very aware of his health. So I think he's very smart and very aware, and he's so talented he can choose to fight the way that he does in those fights. And listen, hate it or love it or whatever, I mean, it's not the most fan-friendly style. A lot of people are very frustrated because he is that talented, but at the end of the day, he's a super talent.
And lastly, Chris, Haney Prograis is
love it.
One of the big ones to close out the year. Is it? Are you discounting Prograis if you say, look how much he struggled with Zorrilla, guy moving laterally, pop shotting on the outside? Devin Haney's a couple levels above that. So Haney's the favorite, or maybe not necessarily? What do you think?
I'm going to go with your first statement, or I'm going to answer the first question. Are you discounting Prograis? Yes. I thoroughly agree. I think that if you are basing Prograis on that fight with Zorrilla, which I called that fight, you're like, yeah, I mean, everything that Zorrilla does, Haney does better. If you're Team Haney and you watch a fight, you're licking your lips, right? You're licking your chops.
Which apparently they did.
Yeah, they took the fight right away.
Right.
And I wasn't surprised by that. But Prograis, man, because he's so physical, because he's so durable, because he's such a good puncher, You can't count guys like that out. It could have been a bad night. It could have been fighting at home. It could have been a tough style. I think a lot of it had to do with the style. Zodillo's a good puncher. I was very impressed with his power that night. He looked dangerous. And his boxing was awkward, but he made it work. So yeah, I would not discount him based on his latest performance. But it's a great fight. I like the fact that both guys are taking that risk. I think it's much more of a risk for Haney, obviously. Prograis, that's one of the biggest fights of his career that he can actually make right now. So, but yeah, hell of a fight.
Yeah, and Haney has been hit by southpaws, Diaz and Lomachenko with the left
He's
hand.
been hit by everybody. So, you know, he's got very good defense, but you know, he's not untouchable.
So we'll see. Thank you, Chris, for your time. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.